So I don't, you can probably Google that and find that pretty easily. That's what I would do.
Right, good. Good to know.
Want me to put on
I posted a video this morning passing through Beverly Hills. It says your video is blocked and can be viewed in Russia and not in the US. How is that possible?
That's cool.
Yeah, here, I'll slide it.
Your video can be viewed in Russia, but not in the US. Okay. Hey, Joseph, you've been doing call calling for like 6, 7 weeks, huh?
Yeah, I mean, a little longer. I've done a lot of appointments.
I mean, at this office, right? That's what I'm.
Yeah. I've done a lot, I went to a lot of appointments.
And you're using Redbox, you said? Because I paid for a Vulcan 7.
Both good, both good.
One of these days, I'm gonna sit next to you just to kind of hear you, bro, if you don't mind, and see what you say.
The main issue is that the rates are a little bit high. That's the main issue of that. Other than that, rates were lower, I would have been really good, right?
Hey, you're doing good as it is. I mean, you got a listing the other day, no?
I'm working on that listing and I'm also
It's gonna
working,
pan through, watch.
yeah,
It's gonna pan through.
but I'm doing that and then I have probably another listing in the next month or so. Because, the lady I'm checking with is having surgery. So he wants to wait another month.
Hopefully she recovers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I escorted a lady to LAX this morning, might be interested in this business, she's in Italy. She's based off of Rome, so,
Rome, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Don't hear that every day.
yeah. She's an American, but she moved to Italy.
A bunch of people moved overseas, just random reasons. Do you have anybody online yet?
Only in Sydney.
Very, I mean, not very, Laura, one of the videos from Jerry that we took like a month ago was never posted on PW Westside.
Oh, let me
Can we
see
do
what
that?
Yeah, I'll check it.
Because I had to leave in the middle of the meeting because,
Yeah, I'll check. I think we're gonna have one next week.
pretty sure that I'm just one of those guys that don't like to bother anybody, even like Jerry told me, yeah, just give me a call. We'll put it in the blah,
Yeah, I can send you the link actually for. I don't
For the
know, you
video?
don't have to
blah.
wait.
Even better, yeah. That-
How's everybody's New Year going so far?
It's good.
Good? Good. What about you?
I signed up for that website yesterday.
Good one.
The training that we took yesterday, for the online presence.
Yes.
It's the agent posting whatever.com. So far, it looks promising, for lack of a better word.
That's not something we did. We did that training?
So I need to look at my text messages. No, it wasn't from Scotland, right? It's a different company. You guys sent the link to yesterday. And I was driving and I barely caught it. Barely heard the part where it says, oh, sign up for this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, unless it wasn't one of our links.
I don't know.
Real.
Let me know. Let me know. Now, we never know these days.
Yeah, you're right.
What about you, Laura? How's your year going so far? 5 days in.
Oh, good. First day, I ran into Lamar Odom.
You ran into Lamar Odom?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who this is.
I can't remember, there was something weird about it. 'Cause it
Yeah,
was like
ask them after the class and see if they know what that is. I'm not sure what that is. I don't think that came from us.
Interesting.
Ashley
It was posted as
posted
a
it or
KW website training.
scared.
No, but I'm checking my credit card number.
Hi, Frank.
Hey there.
Hi, it's Sydney.
Hey Sydney, how's it going?
I'm good. Did anybody just feel that earthquake?
No, there was an earthquake?
Yeah, we just had a 4.7 earthquake like a minute ago.
No way. Do you know where it was at?
Rancho Cucamonga is where it was centered, but I felt it.
Oh, wow. I did not feel that.
I'll do that.
Yeah. sure.
I knew there was something weird about it, but
Literally a minute ago. Crazy.
No way. No, I didn't.
Way to start off the new year, 2 earthquakes.
4.6 earthquake, 11 miles, 1.11 miles from Rancho Cucamonga, 10:55. No way. That's wild.
Well, anyway, I hope everybody's new year's going well.
Yeah, same to you. I hope everything's going well for you. We're gonna get this class started here in a second. Do you know what that is, Laura?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it posted on our thing?
No, the text message.
I get it as an official, keep going.
Oh, there's a lot of,
website.
there's a lot of
No,
scams that
it's
people do that. There's a lot of that going on, scams that people scam saying that it's me. It's not me. Like,
I could do that.
always check the phone number, always check the email, because.
Yeah, but remember, I'm always driving, so I just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking that it was really from us, I'm just saying that.
Pace yourself.
Not a big deal, yeah.
All right, what time is it?
Okay,
It
it's
is,
this guy, Ashton Real Estate.
Ashton, yeah,
Yeah.
now,
tell him you changed your mind.
Yep.
Back it up. Back it up. Okay. All right, so we're being recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna get this party started, because I know people are gonna slowly come in, but we have a very specific schedule. I want to keep it moving. I wanted to start this off because I want to get everybody moving forward with their goals very, very aggressively this year. My goals for the office and for our team are very, very aggressive. So I want to do at least 40 transactions for our real estate team. I want to do 50 more transactions for our real estate office, and I want to do 100 million in volume more for the real estate office. So that being said, that I can recruit one person that does 100 million in volume. I can recruit 10 people to do 10 million. There's lots of ways to do it, but there's a specific process on how to sell a lot of real estate. And when I started out in this business, I accidentally figured out a whole bunch of things. And over the 20 years that I've been in real estate, I've put this together in a system, and it's a 3-step system. As we do these coaching videos and coaching trainings on Fridays and Mondays, we're going to go through that system very, very specifically. And I started out the new year with our first team meeting talking about the 12 books you should read throughout the next 12 months. And if you do about 15 minutes of reading a day, however, if it's listening to an audiobook like I do, or if it's just cracking open a book and actually reading the words, 15 minutes a day should be enough time for you to get through the 12 books that I suggested. One of the books, I think it's either the top 5 or top 6, one of the books is called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, who is one of my favorite authors. He's got other books that I love. There's one called The Daily Stoic that I listen to. I actually read every day because it's daily stoicisms on specific things and philosophies. It's just really, really good stuff for like your mind and your soul and stuff like that. But Ryan Holiday is amazing. And so this is a video talking about that. So we're going to watch this video. Then after the video, we're going to talk about some of the principles that they address here that plays into the beginning parts of the 3-step system to get your business going very quickly and very aggressively. This actually addresses the #1 biggest issue that everybody has to get yourself going. So let's play the video and get that started.
What is this on the screen right now?
Welcome back to Philosophers Notes TV. Another great one today. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, who is brilliant. This book is really, really good. He's a smart guy, and this book is extraordinarily inspiring, well written, and awesome. The Obstacle is the Way. Got 5 big ideas. I've got the philosophers there here with a bunch more ideas. We're going to cover my favorite ones here. The Obstacle is the Way is basically, it integration of ancient Stoic philosophy. So think Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. We've got philosophers' notes and TV episodes on each of their primary works. And I'll just read to you a quote from Aurelius. So Aurelius, old school Roman emperor / Stoic philosopher, tells us, the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So Ryan's thesis here is that we don't need to get our butts kicked by obstacles. In fact, they can become the very thing that catalyze our growth. So how do we change our orientation to obstacles, take effective action, and have the will to move through life's challenges that inevitably come at us with a level of poise and grace and power? He also has a bunch of great stories of, not ancient, but historical figures like John D. Rockefeller, Amelia Earhart, up to Steve Jobs, other geniuses who have made their obstacles the way, the impetus for, the catalyst for their best growth. So the book is organized around 3 kind of sections, 3 primary concepts. Number 1, perception. Perception is that number. Action and will. Those are the 3 primary sections. Now, perception, how we perceive an obstacle, is our starting point. Now, if something happens and that is bad, is actually 2 things. There's something happening, which is an objective analysis of reality. Then there's our interpretation of it, our perception of that event. If we perceive that to be bad, we're going to have a certain experience with that. If we perceive it to be an opportunity to use our greatest gifts to show up, become a stronger human being, well, that's going to lead to a different set of experiences and emotional states, right? So perception is where it starts. We're going to perceive our obstacles objectively, not get overly emotional about them, and then respond from fear and from whatever. We want to get control of our perception. That's 1. And then 2, we can take appropriate action. In spite of and in the face of these obstacles, we take action. We do what needs to get done, when it needs to get done, whether we feel like it or not. It's effective action. And right action, not just kind of bad, reactive action, but right action. Very grounded, bold, yet humble, yet direct action. 3, will. This is kind of our soul power. So we show up, even when things are totally overwhelming. Maybe we can't do anything about the obstacle right now. We can learn humility. We can learn that life is unpredictable. But we have the will to see ourselves through whatever challenges we're facing. And over the long run, we see how this is going to make us stronger. Those are the 3 basic ideas. I'll leave it at that for now. We'll look at some of my favorite kind of ideas within those 3. The next one is panic buttons. This one's fun. Panic buttons. So Ryan tells a great story about NASA. When NASA first started venturing into space, what do you think they trained their astronauts in? The number 1 thing they trained their astronauts in was to not panic. Panicking in outer space doesn't go well together. Then he tells a story about John Glenn. John Glenn, first American to orbit Earth, right? Earth. John Glenn in a little contraption going around it. His heart rate never went over 100 beats per minute. Can you imagine that? You're in outer space, first American ever orbiting the planet, and your heart rate through the entire day never goes over 100. What? Tom Wolfe, I think it was, wrote a book where he talked about the right stuff. John Glenn had the right stuff. And then Ryan gives us a hard time. He says, look, this guy's going off into outer space. His heart isn't getting over 100 beats per minute. We walk up to someone on the street to have a conversation, or we have a challenging chat at work, or we're drafting an email, or it's racing. We're sweating. We're getting all panicky. We need to take our finger off the panic button. We do that by getting control of our perception. We need to get our minds right. We need to appropriately see reality and respond with grace and voice. That's the panic button. funny. Next big idea, post-traumatic stress disorder versus post-traumatic growth. Psychologists call this aversive growth. We kind of take it for granted that something crazy happens, right? It's just horrific, and then you suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, there are a lot of challenging things going on, but the reality is some people, not everyone, goes through that event and then experiences a stress disorder. Some people go through that event and they experience growth. How do they do that? How do they take poison and make it into medicine? We're going to talk about another book that Ryan recommended called The Undefeated Mind. We're doing that soon. And he has this great Buddhist idea. How do you take poison and make it medicine? Take something that could kill you and make you stronger and healthier. We just need to realize that it's a possibility. Oftentimes when we get into cloudy perception, we think that because something happened, therefore I responded this way. But there's always space between stimulus, something happens, and response. Right, so if you got stimulus and then you have response, there's a gap there. Now, we don't have our minds right. We think it's collapsed, it's just this, but it's not. There's always space. What we want to do, as we talked about yesterday in the willpower instinct, is we want to pause and plan. We want to step into this gap and create a gap by getting our minds right consistently, such that we can choose the best possible response. That's the essence of what we want to do. And then we have the freedom to grow from the most aversive things we face in our lives. Stoics got this. People we admire got this. We want to get this. Next big idea, the genius equation. Ryan talks about this a lot. We look at action and will. Action and will. Now, a lot of people think that genius is 99% inspiration and 1% perspiration, right? That Michael Jordan was just born the best basketball player. Most of wow, Charles Darwin, these guys are geniuses. But the reality is, it was 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration, as Thomas Edison, who Ryan talked about, tells us. 1% inspiration and 99% hustle and hard work, perspiration. That's the equation for genius. And he says it's not about a flash of insight. He shares a story about Ulysses S. Grant and then Thomas Edison, and how many times they failed again and again and again and again, but they kept at it, and they hit it again and again and again and again and again, and they broke through. That's the genius equation we want to embrace. Final big idea, the process. He shares a story about Nick Saban. So Nick Saban is the coach at the University of Alabama, and one of the winningest programs in college history. Extraordinary. But they don't talk about winning SEC championships or winning national championships. They talk about the process, capital T, capital P, the process. Everyone in the organization is all about the process. And the word that they use, that I just love, let's find some space up here, is finish. Finish. Nick Saban is all about finishing. Finish this rep, finish this drill, finish this play, finish this, tape session. We were reviewing the plays from last week. Finish what you're starting. It's a combination of will and action. I just love that. In my work, I have things I can either start and peter off on, or things I can finish. We want to get in the habit of finishing. Then we have this engine, this power. We get obstacles, and those become something that fuels us. Really cool idea. The process, they were talking about that a lot. Don't focus on the outcome, focus on what you need to do, who you need to be to have great days, and let the outcome be a byproduct of you showing up and executing moments. So there you go. Quick look at Ryan Holland's great book, The Obstacles Away. 1 + 2 + 3. Get your mind right, perception, take action, keep your will strong, your soul power. Panic buttons, do not hit the panic button. Remember our friend John Glenn, cruising around Earth, his heart rate stays under 100. That's awesome. He's got the right stuff. PTSD versus PTG, post-traumatic growth, poison to medicine. Nassim Taleb, Anti-Fragile, talks about the fact that wind extinguishes a candle and fuels a fire. Wind extinguishes a candle and fuels a fire. We want to be a fire where the obstacle, the wind, becomes fuel for our growth. Huge idea. Genius equation. 1% inspiration, 99% hustle, perspiration. Are you working hard, or you kind of sort of mailing in and showing up, and then admiring people who you think was just born that way? These people hustle, they work hard. The process, finish. Finish. You start something, you finish it. Do your best moment to moment to moment, diligently, patiently, persistently. And as that friend Wenga says, you're bound to be successful. Bound to be successful. You can't show up diligently, patiently, persistently, day in, day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in, year out, decade in and decade out, and not be successful, period. It might be trouble. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed. What was your favorite idea? As I always ask, how can you take that idea that landed most with you, it's just remind you of what you already know, make it an embodied part of who you are, theory to practice. Get on that? All right. And for sharing 1%. Have another awesome day. See you.
Back out of this. So, did that resonate with anybody? I hope that's a book that everybody wants to, if you can back out of this and, just, make, our videos the whole screen. Stop sharing the screen, if you guys can get that book and read in more detail what he's talking about, this plays into the first step of the 3 steps to get you to either your first 100,000 in real estate or your next 100,000 in real estate. And when I say your next, if you're already doing 100 to 150,000, 250,000 in real estate sales, there is something here that is probably holding you back, because there's agents that are doing 300 million, $1 billion a year in sales, and somebody who's doing hundreds of million versus $1 billion, there's a mindset issue when it comes to that. And I can sit down with somebody and figure it out pretty quickly, because I do it with myself all the time. I do it with other agents all the time. But the number one thing they're talking about here is they're talking about mindset. Now, when you look at the 3-step process, the first step is mindset. That's part of the first step. The other parts is online presence, database, and website. Because, you need the website, you need the database, you need the online presence, you need all of that stuff. That's to help you perform at the highest level. But you can't even get to that stuff unless you can get past your own mind. That is probably our biggest enemy when it comes to anything, in life, in business, in whatever it is we're talking about. It's the way we think about what's happening, because as we've grown up, we've developed certain ideas and thoughts based on the world around us that we grew up in. And I always tell people, like, you need 3 coaches in your life. You need a business coach, you need a personal training coach, and you need a therapist, because we all got screwed up at some point. It was probably our parents' fault. Like, I have no doubt that that's 100% true. So we have to start reforming the way we think about things when it comes to business. That's when it comes down to here. They're talking about perception. Perception, everything you perceive is neither good nor bad. It is literally whatever you decide to make it. Most people will not pick up the phone and do cold calls because they're scared. They're afraid of what somebody else is going to think. Or they don't talk to somebody because they're afraid of the response that they're going to get. There's nothing wrong. Most people who are successful don't have that fear, or they figure out a way to get around it. But there is no good or bad. It has no meaning until you decide to give it a meaning on whatever that is. And the meaning you give it is based on whatever has happened to you in the past. And he talks about the action. The execution is the key. And if I could get everybody to do one thing, I would get them to execute before they even thought about anything. Because I had a conversation with my wife the other day, and I think I talked about this at the team meeting, is that, I went to Vegas for one of my 50th birthday, and we went to this axe throwing place. Where we threw axes, and I got there and I thought it was really cool because we actually got to throw more things. We got to throw axes, long axes, short axes. We got to throw throwing stars, throwing knives, spears, all of these things. And out of the group that we were in, I was the only one that actually could throw everything with no issue. Like I could just throw it like that. And I was talking to my wife and I told her, I said, do you know why I'm so good at these things? Like, and we talked about how I was good at other things too. And she gave me an answer and I said, no, that's not it. The reason I'm so good at all these different things is because I failed so much at them before I was good at them. And I think that's a perception that a lot of people think that, like, Kobe Bryant was an amazing basketball player. If you look back to the story, the way Kobe Bryant tells it, there was a summer league that he played in back east when he was like a young kid, like 10, 11, 12 years old. And he played the entire game and he made no points. And the interviewer was like, did you shoot the ball? Were you even in the game? He's like, yeah, I was. He goes, the reason I didn't score any points, I was terrible. He played the whole season, scored no points. This is Kobe Bryant. Within 2 years, he became the #1 player in the state. So it's not the fact that he was born talented or born with the skill of being an amazing basketball player. It's just that he failed so often. He just practiced and got better. And so like my throwing stars and throwing axes and all that stuff, I've been in martial arts since I was like 16 years old. And so what I did is I thought it was super cool to have throwing stars and throwing knives and watch all this stuff on TV. So I set up a plywood in my backyard and I got a bunch of throwing stars and throwing knives, and I threw a throwing knife at the board and it went, bounced off and hit the ground. I probably did that over 100 times because I thought it was so cool, and it would be really cool if I could do it. My friends could see me do it. I thought it would be really fun. And so I got really good at throwing knives and throwing stars, but I literally did it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times to actually get better at it. And it's like, what they say about riding the bike. You got to fall down, ride the bike, fall down, ride the bike. It's the same thing. John Glenn, the story about John Glenn I find is fascinating because I don't know if anybody's ever done scuba diving. When you scuba dive, it is like probably one of the most frightening things you can do because you're underwater. There's millions of pounds of water on top of you, and there's other things swimming around, and it makes your heart rate go up. And I remember when I went and scuba dived for the first time, my heart rate elevated so much that I was like, I had to get down to the bottom of the ocean and like center myself and breathe because I was freaked out by it. But me panicking and having my heart freak out to being calm was all perception and mindset. I just had to tell myself something different that, like, listen, I have people down here with me. I'm fine. I can swim to the top. Like, I had to rationalize and talk to myself. And that's the same thing when it comes to business. When you pick up the phone or you try to talk to extra people, because you have to believe that it's possible and understand the value of that. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any feedback or thoughts about any of this so far? I would love to hear what you guys are thinking. Joseph, what do you think about all this?
I think it's great. It's builds motivation.
You do a lot of calls. Like why are you not scared to pick up the phone? Like what is the difference for you?
Why I'm not scared is because I like talking to people.
You like talking to people?
Yeah, I really like it. When I talk to people, it makes me feel better. I don't know why. I'm a very social person.
Yeah.
I haven't been too social because for the past few years of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And all that, but I love people. I've been always a social person, and I tend to when I don't talk to people, my brain gets very depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know how, that's just me.
That's action. So like, I talked to a psychologist one time and I was talking about depression and how it works and everything. And the one thing they told me how to get out of depression is go get into action, do something that makes you happy, or go help another person. If you're like, man, if you're like feeling bad about yourself, go help somebody else. When you help somebody else, it creates these chemical reactions in your body that actually makes you feel better. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. When I don't talk to somebody, it's like you're in jail. Like
Yeah,
You know, it's like you put somebody in a corner
yeah,
and you lock them up. It's like your brain gets deteriorated.
100%. I mean,
That's how I wanna put the analogy.
because you start talking to yourself, like when you're the only person you have to talk to, like you go in circles. And there's not a lot there to be positive about sometimes because, you know, I've talked about this before that, you know, you are the person who talks to you the most. And most of the time when you talk to yourself, you say shitty things to yourself. You're just not very nice to yourself.
Like Frank, I've been on a lot of listing appointments,
Yeah.
like a lot. And I'm waiting on this one listing, like I think Sandra told you.
Yeah,
I'm also waiting on somebody that is a senior citizen that is doing surgery, they want to wait a month. I have another person whose their tenants are still there.
yeah,
It's just a lot of problems that these people are having that we want these listing appointments. Some of them that I went to, they want to work with their friend. You know, it's just,
yeah,
and with cold calling, I picked up, I worked with the buyer, you know, I going to open houses,
Yeah.
you know, meeting
Yeah.
people, I did made an offer, but it was a low offer and we didn't, but
but I mean, you're getting into action,
Yeah,
right? So that's the
yeah,
important part. Did you raise your
that's-
hand Oswaldo?
Yeah, it was just a
Yeah,
similar comment, to the 100 beat per minute thing.
yeah,
Not to disclose too much, I got injured some years ago on the Henry Mayo DR. And all of a sudden, I got like 10 nurses looking at me weird, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna expire today, this is it. And I asked my sergeant, I asked the person that was with me, I go, what's going on? Says, they're looking at you because your heartbeat rate is 54 right now. And what I meant by that is previous experiences in your life will condition your reactions to present and future events.
yeah,
So what they didn't know is that at some point in my life, I got conditioned to do that.
yeah.
And that was, my heart rate was 54, not 76.
Well, I mean, and to that point, like I was in the military. And when I was in the military, like if you've been in the military, even if you just go through training, like we went through this training part where I had bombs exploding all around me, right? It was a training exercise, but they were trying to condition us. So when we get on the battlefield, like a bomb doesn't explode next to us and we freak out. So like the exercise was we had to get our squad from point A to point B where there was a flag while there was like bullets whizzing over us, bombs exploding around us, and I wasn't the squad leader. I was just part of the squad, and we started advancing forward. And what I realized while the squad was advancing forward, they were going the wrong direction. I'm like, literally, I'm like, hey, I talked to the guys, I'm like, we're going the wrong way, we're going the wrong way. And nobody did anything, so I ended up getting in front of the whole squad and saying, come this way, come, and I guided them in the right direction. We ended up getting to the flag first, but there was literally bombs and explosions going on all around us. And at the end of the day, what I did is I focused on the goal. And what that did is that conditioned me to have a calmer mindset when it comes to things and not freak out when shit hits the fan. And so when I became a police officer, that helped me out as well. But I ended up being squad leader after that because they saw me do that. They're like, oh, wow, you think you're hot shit, you can be squad leader now. So that's a whole nother story. But all of this stuff that we're talking about is mindset. So if you have done no deals, if you have done 10 deals and you want to do one deal, you want to do 100 deals, it's all a mindset issue. Some of the number one agents in the world are not any more talented or any more smart than anybody in this room. They just look at it differently and they don't let these little things impede them. Little small issues impede them. And a lot of it comes down to volume. So I have a formula that I learned from one of my mentors. It's called the rule of 100. Has anybody heard of that? You know who my mentor is, you may have heard of it. The rule of 100 is that, I can do it on this one over here. Make a box. And then you have 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. This is, you reach out to 100 people a day that you know. You all know 100 people a day. This is people you know. And then you do, this would be warm reach outs because they know you. So a warm reach out is somebody you know you. Not necessarily they want to buy or sell. Because the key to real estate is not finding out who wants to buy or sell right now. It's to find out where is everybody you know in relationship to the buy or sell process. Everybody's gonna buy, sell, or rent. Everybody, at some point in their life. Your job is to connect with as many people as possible and figure out where they at in that process. So warm reach outs to 100 people a day. This is cold reach outs. So you reach out to 100 people you don't know. Make 100 phone calls to people you don't know. You're really good at that, right? So this one is make 100 pieces of content. 100 pieces of content. And then you spend, say, $100 a day on an ad. So some people, you may not be able to do the $100 a day, maybe 100 a week or 100 a month or whatever, but that is probably the lowest level of hanging fruit when it comes to, cameras on this side, right here. If you could do these 3 every day, I cannot see why you wouldn't be successful. And when I started mentioning these things, somebody in their mind started coming up with reasons why they couldn't do it. There's this thing in Keller Williams called the Bold 100. And I think it's probably one of the most powerful things because what it does is it challenges your perception on what is possible. Because most people do not reach out to 100 people a day. And their business shows because of it. And I remember when we did the Bold 100, the criteria was you have to have a conversation with somebody and you have to talk about real estate in some way, shape, or form. So I remember my wife was there at Bold when all this went on and all these people like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And so, you know, the next day, like I went to work and my wife went to, you know, do her thing. And then what happened was I came home and, you know, my wife's sitting on the couch and she's just, you know, messing with her phone. I had no clue what she was doing. I started talking to her and and she's like just constantly on her phone. I'm like, well, what are you doing? She's like, I'm doing the Bold 100. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're doing the Bold 100. Because I felt the Bold 100 is I have to make 100 phone calls to people, have 100 conversations, and that's the way I'm gonna do it. And that is really freaking hard. Anybody that's done it, it's really hard. It takes all day to call and talk to 100 people about real estate. And so she's sitting there, I'm like, what do you mean you're doing the Bold 100? I'm like, you're emailing or texting or something on your phone. She's like, yeah, I've texted about 100 people today. I'm like, well, that doesn't count. She's like, no, it absolutely counts because we talked about real estate. I was like, so how long did it take to hit 100 people through text message? She's like 6 hours. I was like, no way. I go, how'd it go? She goes, I got 6 leads. I was like, what? So you sat on the, I don't know if she sat on the couch. That's not fair. But I was like, you sat here and texted over 100 people in 6 hours and you got 6 leads? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what did you say? And she literally just, so she went to the person that she knew, like she'd know somebody in her text messages and she would just make a post. She would text them based on how she knew them. Like, hey, it was great seeing you on this day, or hey, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. Nothing about real estate, but because everybody that knows her knows that she's in real estate, it always looped back around to real estate. Some people will say, hey, it's really great. I'm so glad you called me. You know, we're thinking about putting our house on the market next year. And so the perception is, my perception was you had to call 100 people. That's not necessarily true. The criteria is you had to contact 100 people and have a specific conversation about real estate. And my perception was it's going to take all day. That's not true. It took her 6 hours. If I could tell you guys, listen, go do this for 6 hours, you're going to come back with 6 pieces of business. Who would not do that? And to be honest, you may not get 6 pieces of business. You may not get any business. But that shouldn't deter you because of this part right here, your process. Everybody has a process. That's why when I teach you the 3-step program, you know, you can make 100,000 in real estate or an extra 100,000 in 6 to 12 months. I've had so many people, including myself, have done this, and everybody's process is different. My process, it took me 6 months. I know other 6 different people that I know of, it took them 12. 136, 125, 134,000 in their first 12 months. But it may take you 13 months. It may take you 8 months. Who knows? But it depends because the first thing you have to get over is your mindset and the way you believe about everything moving forward. and realize that nothing really has any meaning until you subscribe meaning to it. So we're like, oh, that sucks. Not really. Jocko Willink, is the author of a book that I, suggested. And he has this theory that I love. And the theory is, it's all good. It's all good. And the way he looks at it is that if you go to him and you say, man, I just lost a client. If you go, good. Now you can go get another client. Or I just call, I don't know anybody in this town. Like, this is a common thing that I get, is like, I don't have a sphere of influence. He'd say, good. Gives you the chance to go out and meet more people. Nobody in my family will use me. Good. You don't need them anyway. You can go find more people. I just got fired from my job. Good. Go find a better job. My car just broke down. Good. Then you can get a better car. Like, everything is good because all he did is reframe what it was in his mind to make it better. You have a choice. You can be positive, you can be negative. No matter what you do in your life, you have that choice, positive or negative. If you ask me how I'm doing, what do I say? Does anybody know? I go, Frank, how are you doing? I'm fantastic. Even when I'm not. Do you know why? Because why would you want to be anything else besides fantastic? And if I want you guys to be fantastic, and you ask me, and I go, man, I just had a shitty day. Like, that's going to bring everybody down. That's not going to make you feel good. I'm going to say I'm fantastic because I want to be fantastic. I choose to be fantastic. And if I had a shitty day, guess what? Something in that shitty day is going to give me inspiration to never have that shitty day again, to have a better day based on what's already happened. It's all mindset. The number one of the number one real estate agents in the world did $9,000 his first year in real estate. 10 years later, he did $1 billion. That dude is no smarter than anybody here. $1 billion a year in real estate. There's guys here doing $1 billion a year in real estate down the street. Nothing special about it.
Richard,
Huh?
Richard,
Richard is not doing $1 billion now. Richard, I think he's going to probably do about 200 million this year, about 340 million. But still,
who is doing billion?
the Altman brothers are doing $1 billion. There's probably like 5 or 6 people that are doing $1 billion. I can't name off the top of my head. Guy from Christie's is doing $1 billion. A couple people from the agency, like there's a handful. But the thing is like nobody here has to do $1 billion to be happy, right? You could probably do like a minute eighth of that and probably be super, super happy, right? It's all really a perception of how you think about things and how you feel about things and how you let things affect you.
I believe the SEALs call that neuroprogramming. It's how you see the situation, what you're gonna make out of that. Basically like vocal says,
Mhm.
if everything's good.
It's great, it's good, because regardless of what happens, you have a chance to do something better once something ends. No, nothing's dead until you're dead. And you still have a lot of life on this planet. So the key here for perception, action, and will. So the action part is key. What you think of it is important, and then taking action. You can think about cold calling, you can think about calling your spirit, you can think about farming all day long until you actually take the action. That's key. And then showing up. I talked about in my my recruiting appointments on how real estate agents screw up their business. And this is how real estate agents screw up their business, is that if I hired Joseph to be a barista in my coffee shop, and he's the best barista I've ever seen in my life. He's amazing. He makes the best cup of coffee in the world. And I hire him 9 to 5 to work Monday through Friday in my coffee shop. He shows up Monday and he crushes it. Best employee I've ever had. But he doesn't show up on Tuesday. He doesn't show up on Wednesday. Works a half a day on Thursday, goes home sick, and then tries to come to work on Friday. What do you think is going to happen to him?
I actually used to be a barista.
Did you get fired?
No, I loved
Okay,
it.
because if you did that schedule I just said, I would fire you.
Yeah,
The problem is, most real estate agents treat their business like that and they expect a different result. They don't show up for themselves.
I was always showing up.
There you go.
Always.
And you do that here. You
Yeah.
show up here and you make your phone calls, and that's the key, is that you have to show up for yourself. And I think the biggest myth that we have in real estate, and just I think in general, is that people think you have to show up and give 100%. Like you need to show up, you need to give 100%, you need to crush it. You know what? That would be amazing if you could do that, but I honestly don't know anybody that shows up and gives 100%. I give the example that when I go to the gym on Mondays, Mondays is leg day. F leg day. Like, no, I hate leg day. I will think of every excuse not to go to the gym on leg day. And I know there's people that have told me, I love leg day. If you love leg day, you're not lifting enough weight. That's all I'm saying. Because like there's days I can't walk, but I never give 100% on leg day because I hate it. I show up, I give like 10%, 10, 15, 20%, 25% like on a good day. On the other days, I give more. But the key is not how much you're giving. The key is that I'm showing up, and you have to do the same thing in your business. I will tell you right now, if you want to be part of the accountability for this class, we'll take your names and then we'll go over how many contacts you made, how many appointments you made, how many contracts you wrote, and how many escrows you closed. We'll keep track of that. And the criteria will be 25 contacts a day. That means 25 people spoken to a day about real estate. And I'll talk to you right before we wrap this up on how to get those people. But listen, if you show up and you're like, man, I don't feel good, I feel sick, I have food poisoning, I just got into a fight with my spouse, whatever. And you give me 5, like, you know what? 5, I'm happy with that. Let's do 5. And you know what? Next day, try to do 6. Try to do 25. If you can't do 25, that's fine. I don't need you to do 25 every day. I need you to show up every day. Nobody's gonna beat you up because you did 1 contact and you had a shitty day and you got in a car accident, blah, blah, blah. Right? Like we had one of our staff members, like first day on the job, got into a car accident. I'm like, I'm not seeing this person for a week. Like I wouldn't blame her. Showed up the next day. Showed up that day, but had to go deal with car stuff. Showed up the next day. Like I'm like, hey, that's what I'm talking about, right? Showing up is key. You have to do that for yourself. Because if you start telling yourself you're gonna do something and you don't do it, that creates a mental issue in your mind because you're lying to yourself. Does that make sense? You have to start showing up for yourself. So mindset is number 1. It is probably the hardest. I will be honest with you. You will always struggle with it. I struggle with it today still because I'm always trying to grow. Like I said, I want to hit 40 transactions for my real estate team. I want to do 100 million for the office. And I have obstacles that I have to overcome. Massive obstacles. Like, where do I spend the money to get the extra 40 units? Right? That's a conversation that I'm constantly having with my wife. And like, we have a coach. We pay a coach. So I'm a coach. People coach with me. I have a coach. I spend $1,000. My wife and I spend $1,000 a month on a coach.
Who can coach you?
Anybody can be coached. Because guess what? Nobody is perfect and nobody has all the answers. And if I want to grow, like you want to get to where me and my team are. I want to get to where the guy that's doing $1 billion a year is. That's actually not true. I don't need $1 billion a year. I don't need to sell $1 billion a year. If I sold a third of that, I'd probably be super happy. That's another class that we can talk about of like how much do you really need to sell to be happy. But I have a coach and we pay that coach. And the conversation that we just had yesterday with our coach was, what are we doing? How's it working out? And what can we do more of that's going to give us better results? And what we decided is that more in-person interaction with people we know is going to give us better results than trying to go out and have conversations with people we don't know. So if everybody knows how the sphere of influence works, talk about this really quick and then we'll wrap it up. This is actually a bigger conversation, but I just want to kind of show everybody, if you have your sphere of influence right here, this is you. And then you have your outside sphere of influence here, this is your family. This is like your close friends. I call it board of directors. It's people you go ask advice from, right? Like your friend, like, hey, you know, Johnny really knows a lot about cars. Let's go ask Johnny about cars. Like those are your close friends. And then you have out here, you have your network. It's like when I first came to California, I had no sphere of influence here. I just started real estate and I joined a bowling team. So I was decent at bowling, like I had a 185 average. I was decent at bowling. My camera's not following. What's going on, camera? Come on, camera. Come this way. Come this way. Come on, camera. Wow, camera's not following. Come on. Okay. No, it's gonna follow me. So the network is like the people I know, the people I hang out with, like my bowling league, all that kind of stuff. That was my network. And then you have your community. Community. So community can be illustrated in a lot of different ways. Where you live, you know, the people that know the people that you know. But then there is this outer group. This is your audience. So when you get to step 1A and then 1B, the online presence, that's your audience. When you're on social media, when you're on Instagram and you're posting, you're doing all those things, that's the people that are watching you that you're not necessarily talking to. Your goal with your audience is to pull them closer to the center. Pull them into your community, pull them into your network, pull them into your close friends. That's when you're going to start getting business from them. Tracy's really, really good at pulling people in to her close friends group from Instagram. She's gotten messages and different things from Instagram all the time. But this is the part that everybody tries to go to. This, you'll recognize this one, Joseph. This is called strangers.
Audience, not strangers.
Huh?
Audience also strangers.
Right, but those are people who know who you are that are watching you. So that's different. The strangers that I'm talking about is when you get expired listings, or you get expired lists, or if you just do random cold calls, or if you go out and door knock. These are people that have no clue who you are, and you're calling them for the first time. Literally the hardest lead to convert. And so with our team, we're spending money on NODs, strangers, we're spending money on expired listings, strangers, we're spending money on other things of people, because my idea was like, I'm gonna try to blanket all of these people because we're already doing this sphere of influence that's pretty solid, that's getting us like 25, 30, 40 transactions a year. Like I want to go to and start pulling these things out. Our coach was like, well, how's that working out for you? So the way that the coaching works the best is asks you questions. So he asks us questions. How's that working out for you? And what he did is he had us break down where our business was coming from. And the percentage for the stranger part for all that, it was real small. So we decided to allocate our money away from that and do things that are closer to sphere of influence. If you pay attention to our team meetings, 90% plus of every deal that comes through this office is from sphere of influence. That's not this office though. That's literally every office I've ever been a part of. I got really good at doing cold calling. I got deals from cold calling. I got way more business from sphere of influence as I started growing it by doing certain things. But one of the key components, if you've never done a deal before, so this is really important. If you've never done a deal before, your online presence is going to be the key to your success. That's why if you post, if you like, if you share, posts from the office, posts from other agents, different things that are going on, you have to give the perception that you know what you're talking about, because people to use you in real estate have to know you, like you, and trust you.
What does it mean, post from the office?
So when somebody posts something from the office, you share that on your Facebook.
Can we
Say,
do
hey,
that? Can we do
yeah,
that?
there's a share button. When we put it on there, said, hey, check out the listing that the office just took, or something like that. Just share it, or just share it. Because what's going to happen is that people that you know, people that are watching you, your audience, your friends, your family members, all see, this is the thing right here. This is your audience. But guess what? Your audience on social media, these people see you, these people see you, these people see you, all of these people are part of your audience as well. So if you have never sold a house, or if you're like, you're doing something else. So I get a lot of people that have second jobs. And so their friends and family members, our community and everybody only know them as that. Like they only know them as the barista at Starbucks. So if you want to get rid of that perception, you have to show people something different. When you go to a party and have a conversation, you have to talk about something different, not about how you can make an amazing, caramel latte. Like, what's going on? And so I had an agent, I don't know if she's on here or not, but I had an agent that like never sold a house before, not even part of the board, joined the office. And I'm like, go to a networking event and do this and do that and educate yourself before you go. Because you're gonna jump into a group of people, you're gonna listen to see what they're talking about, and then you're going to jump in, because if you start asking people questions, don't tell people things, you ask them questions, they're gonna ask you a question. And if you know your shit, that's gonna be the difference maker, right? What's the interest rate today? 6.5 was 7, it was 7% yesterday, 6.5 today, right? If you're on top of it, Johnny on the spot, you don't have to have sold 1 million houses, but you have to know your shit. And this person came back with a multi-million-dollar buyer 2 days after an event. It was pretty awesome. And this person never sold a house before. Had an agent at another office join our office. And I said, this is what you do with your sphere of influence. Literally 2 days later, she did what I told her to do, came back with a deal. So you have to understand that the mindset, somebody had been with an office, a part of the board, and trying to do real estate for a year, did nothing. And then all I did was say, do this instead, which was not magic. I said, go talk to the people you already know, but talk to them like this. They came back and they said, hey, I just found somebody. I found somebody that knew somebody. Happens all the time. So it's mindset, online presence. The online presence part is really powerful. Now, do you need it 100%? No, I know people that have nothing online and they're crushing it in real estate. That's because they do everything else really good. And that is taking everybody you know and putting them in your database. If you don't have everybody in your database, and if you're not talking to them and contacting them aggressively, frequently, every day, that is part of your problem in your database. If you sit down with me for a coaching appointment, I'm going to say, how many people do you have in your database? Now, being a police officer, one of the things I learned is that I don't usually ask a question unless I already know the answer. So if I ask you a question, Joseph, how many people do you have in your database? If I'm going to ask you that in a conversation, I'm already going to know. I want to see what you say. So I did that. Somebody sat down. I have my beginning of the year coaching meetings. And I said, how many people do you have in your database? He's like, 250. I'm like, no, you don't. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I just looked. We can pull it up. You don't. We can't get started with you doing stuff unless you have people in your database, because I'm going to talk to Joseph, have a conversation. It's going to be an amazing conversation. I'm going to hang up the phone. And if I don't put the notes down there of what we talked about, the conversations we had, and then I go run into him on the street a month from now or talk to him in 2 months, and I don't remember that conversation he does, I'm going to look like an idiot. You have to take notes. So that's the database part of it. The website. Website is a bigger conversation because it seems very simplistic, but the conversation I have with people is, have you searched yourself online? And if you search yourself online, what comes up? Because I can guarantee you, if I am going to go to a friend and my friend is going to refer me business to somebody else, which happens all the time, that person doesn't know me. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to type my name into Google and see what comes up. And if you don't know what's coming up, what do you expect to happen then? You can actually control the first page of Google if you do this. Oh, I erased it. If you do the 100 pieces of content a day, don't get me wrong, that's really hard to do. But if you can do 100 pieces of content, you can control the first page of Google. I've done it. So that's key. That's the first step. That's the first step. We'll go over the second step on the next meeting. Guys have any questions? Anybody, any questions online? See what's on here. I see all these people on here. Yeah, I see some people I know. Hey. Bakersfield, what's going on? Eleni, what's going on? Chloe, I was talking about you. I don't know if Chloe got that. Hey, Paul. Sydney.
Hello.
Hey there. I was talking about you. Did you know that you were the one I was talking about?
I wasn't sure.
Well, I don't want to give too much detail. So If you guys have questions, let me know, reach out to me. We're gonna be doing this on Mondays and Fridays. I hope it was really, really beneficial. I hope it was helpful. I'm giving you the core foundation of everything that you need so you can move forward this year and start crushing it. So do we have that last video? We're gonna put up. So we're going to end with some motivation. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, text me, call me, email me, show up to these classes. Let's go.
When I look at people, I always ask the question, I say, man, tell me what Nike stands for. They said, oh, ain't that easy, just do it. I said, tell me what Adidas stands for. Oh, ain't that easy, man, impossible is nothing. I said, now tell me what you stand for. When people look at you, do they think excuses? When people look at you, do they think victory? When people look at you, do they think that's a person that's gonna give me everything they got? Not on some days, but on every day, and it's not gonna be predicated upon if I feel like it, because I think we all know if we only work for the days we felt like it, none of us think much about it. I'm talking about the real level of commitment. That's the commitment that falls in line if everything goes right. I'm speaking of the commitment that says, I am going to stay true to what I said I would do long after the move that I said it in the club. See, most people, ladies and gentlemen, are stubborn. Most people, all you have to do is tell them no. All you have to do is make it inconvenience for them. All you have to do is make it difficult for them, and they're stuck. See, when you go to get your goal, don't think that all you have to do is think positive and everything's going to work out okie-dokie for you. When you go to get your goal, you are sending a telegram to Murphy's Law to visit you personally. You thought you were just going to have a dream and a goal. You were just going to wake up and just walk into the sunset. You're like, dream? Ooh, it don't work like that. You have a dream, and then life prompts you. Life prompts you to say, do you really want this? You're going to lose friends. Do you really want this? Do you really want this? Cousins going to abandon you. People that you used to be like this with don't think you lose, you don't want to deal with you. It's a part of it, but I paid too much. If I was going to quit, I would have quit in the very building, but I wanted to commit suicide to take my life. I should have quit when I heard my friend say, your mama don't want you. Your daddy don't want you. Take your life. I got to do that. So y'all going to do those grades. Come on. And so I'm telling y'all, you have come too far to quit now. You have invested too much to quit now. You have lost too much to quit now. Don't worry about it. Don't bother about it. Get a reward for your pain. So what I'm hearing it's from a certain type of mentality, and a certain type of individual. And so now I can't quit even if I wanted to. I can't stop even if I wanted to. I have too much faith in me. And now I can't see how I'm doing it. You gotta take another life. You gotta take another life. Because you never know. This might be the one. You can't stop because you're tired. You can't stop because you got your feelings hurt. You got to take another life. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Don't you stop.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any questions.
Thank you.